Welcome to the Afternoon Swim Show. This is where you meet the people, places, and things that you ordinarily don't come across. And today we have someone with us who you would definitely like to know. My friend and sister, Dian Alyan. Dian, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. It is an honor to be invited.
You're here in Illinois and in Chicago for a special event. Can you tell us a little about why you are here?
We're here to raise awareness about the work that we do with Give Light, and our focus is to help orphans around the world. We provide home and food and shelter, and more importantly, we also want to give back a sense of family to them and a sense of belonging and a chance to build a good future.
Dian, can you tell us about the mission of Give Light?
It started to it has to start with the history. So it started after the tsunami of 2004, and I'm originally from Indonesia, from the island that was most shattered by the tsunami, so I lost a lot of people. And we decided to focus on helping children, because they are the most vulnerable of the segment of the society. So our focus is to help orphans who are victims of natural disasters and also extreme conditions such as war and poverty. So to put it in a simple sentence, the vision of the organization is to create high quality homes and education for orphan children around the world.
I see. Can you give us a little bit about the sense of services that are currently taking place with the Give Light organization?
Okay. So it started with one home in Indonesia, and at the beginning we thought, taking care of orphans is such an honor, but also a huge responsibility. So my background is corporate. I work in Procter & Gamble. I know about how to sell shampoo and soap. I had no idea about how to care for orphans. So we thought, let's start with something small, and we start with a home that we built for 50 orphans of the tsunami. And the kids go to school. They go to public school. But we also provide extra curricular activities and tutoring. So they have English lesson, computer skills, Arabic and Quran. And our goal is to make sure that we give them competitive edge so that they are not only on par with their friends, but actually better in terms of opportunity to rise. And today we have also a home in Rawalpindi in Pakistan, and one in Bangladesh, and in Sri Lanka we just finished the completion of our last home in Sri Lanka about 3 weeks ago, and we are launching into a new continent in Africa. So the purpose of our event tonight is to raise awareness about our newest project, which is to build our first home in Morocco.
In Morocco,
yes.
Wow. And I've definitely been to Rawalpindi.
Yes.
I've been to Morocco.
Yes.
And I know you're planning on doing something also in Haiti.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So Haiti actually is something that we did right after the earthquake. As I mentioned earlier, our focus is orphans who are victims of natural disasters. So whenever there's a disaster strike, we try to help, but our help is not short term. We wanted to help long term. However, in Haiti, because the impact was so great, we thought, what could we do as a community immediately? So we partnered with UNICEF in the beginning to try to provide, immediate help. But after that, we decided to focus on, again, orphans, and we are supporting 50 orphans in Haiti by working with 2 orphanages in Haiti.
For those of you who are regular viewers of our show, you know that I've been to Haiti and participated in the relief efforts. So it's very good, and it's an honor to meet another person who is doing something in an organization that's involved in Haiti as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration of the Give Light organization?
That's a great question. My great-grandfather was someone I truly admired, because he instilled in me this idea of charity and compassion and helping others. So he was actually my role model who inspired me to do this. I thought after I left my corporate world, I was looking for that one purpose. And the tsunami was it impacted so many people at a very personal level. And I think for me, because I'm from that region, I felt that writing a check is not going to do it. I had to do something more. So the idea of helping and building something that is tangible and long term is really appealing to me. Nice. And we also know as Muslims, helping orphans is something that is really honorable.
Yes.
Something that is, I think has a very high status in Islam, right?
Yes.
So that, looking for a sense of purpose and helping orphans and having somebody in my own life who held such high esteem of orphans, I think really inspired me to do something. Although I came to America, like I said earlier, to pursue a career, I never thought that one day I would actually dedicate my life to this cause. I felt like this is something that is that has brought so much meaning and purpose. And although I started with trying to help others, I feel like I'm the one who's helped the most in terms of continuing with the work and finding people who are also very interested in the work, who share my dream. I feel like this is not just me who wants this to happen. And in fact, the Chicago team, if I can talk a little bit about that, I had never met most of them. I only met one person who thought that this idea can really flourish in Chicago. And tonight we have a sold out event. We were targeting maybe 400 people. Now we're at 600 and counting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. Yeah. And we hope those of you who are in and around the state of Illinois and in Chicago, please come to the Give Life organization function this evening. I am inspired to do this TV show because of my grandmother, just like you're inspired by your grandfather. And I always encourage people to talk more about their family members because they've inspired all of us. Can you tell us a little bit more about your grandfather?
So actually there are more figures in my family. My great-grandfather, as I mentioned earlier, he memorized the entire Quran.
Wow.
He was one of the first person in my village to travel to Mecca to perform Hajj.
Wow.
And he would spend the nights doing tahajjud and the days working, and he was very successful. He was a merchant who was very successful. So I learned from him that you can actually have a successful life in this dunya, but don't forget your akhirah.
Wow, that's
right? So I think that is a really good balance. So that I learned from him. And our home in Aceh is named after him. It's Nuruddin home. And the name Give Light actually is also inspired by that name, right? But from the very beginning, I want Give Light to be inclusive. I don't want it to be something that only belongs to the Muslims.
Absolutely.
Because giving is at the core of every religion. In fact, even if you don't have a religion, if you are a good person, if you have a good moral compass, you will want to have other people, right?
Yes.
So from the very beginning, I thought the name Give Light is really, it lives to the spirit of the organization.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in Chicago and in Illinois who are familiar with Indonesia, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who are not familiar with the nation of Indonesia.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the nation, its people, and its culture?
Absolutely. Indonesia, in my opinion, I probably am biased, is one of the most beautiful places on earth. It has 13,000 islands.
Wow.
And only maybe 40% are really, inhabited. So remote islands and beautiful white sand, palm trees. It's a country that is rich in natural resources. And the people are very warm. The culture are very diverse. So imagine the 13,000 islands, there's maybe 200 plus languages. I came from the island of Sumatra. And then I moved to Jakarta, which is in Java, when I went to college. So even the language is different from one island to another, right? And I want to talk a little bit about my island, because Islam, this is a little bit of history of Islam. Islam entered Indonesia through my island.
Very interesting.
Right? Aceh is on the tip of Sumatra. And the people of Aceh are known, if you travel throughout Indonesia, people of Aceh are known throughout the country as the one who is, I don't want to say pious, but very strict in terms of following the religion. Because it enters, Islam entered Indonesia through Aceh, right?
Very interesting.
And it was known as the veranda of Mecca. They call it the veranda of Mecca.
Veranda of Mecca.
And so we're proud of that heritage. And But Indonesia at the same time is very open-minded. You know, I grew up with friends who are of different religion,
I see.
and if you see the countries in general, there are many religions. If you go to Bali, Hindu is the predominant religion, and there is churches everywhere.
Interesting.
The oldest church is next to the oldest mosque in Jakarta. So you see that diversity, you see that sense of coexistence and
I
tolerance,
see.
and I think that's beautiful.
I see.
Yeah.
This is your first time in Chicago,
No,
am I right?
no.
Okay.
So I forgot to mention earlier that I work for Procter & Gamble. Perhaps I did.
Yes.
So I used to come on corporate jet to Kellogg University
Oh,
for
okay.
campus recruitment. And I used to fly almost once a month and go to Michigan Avenue
I see.
and had, you know, high-powered meeting with Leo Burnett and Saatchi & Saatchi because I manage Pantene shampoo and other, you know, global brands. So that used to be my life. So I've been to Chicago many, many times and in a different context.
I understand.
But this is the first time I came to Chicago to inspire, hopefully, people to help the poor and the needy and the orphans.
Wonderful. I always ask people who visit Chicago to tell us about their impressions of the city and compare it to where they're from.
Yes.
Would you be able to give us a comparison of what you feel with regards to the similarities and differences of Chicago and Illinois and Indonesia?
I live now in the Bay Area.
Okay.
So San Francisco would be probably a better comparison
Wonderful.
because I've been there for 10 years. I would say it is a little bit more crowded, traffic-wise, but I feel like it has its own charm. You know, the lake is beautiful, and I think the diversity is there as well, and the high-rise and the towers.
Wonderful.
So I don't want to be biased. You know, I live in San Francisco. Of course, I would say that San Francisco is probably one of the most beautiful places on earth in America. But I think Chicago also has its own charm.
I always encourage people who are from the West to visit the East.
Yes.
And I always encourage people from the East to visit the West.
Yes.
Because with so many things going on a political and social level in the world,
Yes.
I think it's important to try to bridge the gap between both societies and both worlds. So I'd like to ask you, since you're here in Chicago,
Yes.
what would you recommend or what would you say to people in Illinois and in Chicago with regards to looking and understanding at the East and people who are different but similar?
Yeah, I think traveling is one of the most effective way to broaden your horizon.
Yes.
To really learn about different culture, different people.
Yes.
And unless you have experienced that, you will have a certain opinion, perhaps, about Asian or
Yes.
the East, right? That they are
Yes.
backward, they're this and that. And the same thing, people in Asia might think that American is so, self-centered.
Yes.
But I think wherever you go, you take what is good. And each culture offers something that is really amazing and different, right? So for me, just take one example. Living in the West, I learned so much to value the concept of time.
Yes.
Right, and this is something that we take very, lightly in our culture.
India time, Asian time.
Exactly. We call it rubber watch because it always extends, right? So I value that, and I also value the concept of hard work. That you can excel in something, if you work really, really hard in the West.
I see.
What I value the most, maybe from my upbringing, from my heritage, is the concept of family.
Yes.
Right? How family is so important, and that no matter what, you always feel that the concept of family is extended beyond just your mother and father. There's uncles and aunties and all that, and hospitality.
Yes.
I think so. Unless we experience that on a personal level, I think you will never fully experience the world as a whole. So
great.
travel, and I think the French says that the best. They say, love your home, travel the world, but love your home.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Is there any place in Chicago that you would like to visit?
At this time, if I have time, perhaps I want to go back to the lake and just sit there and enjoy the lake. I really like it. I think it's beautiful. It's very serene. And maybe a walk downtown.
That'd be
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes.
What would you like your legacy to be with the Give Light organization,
Mhm.
what would you like the Give Light Foundation's legacy to be?
It's an excellent question. Through Give Light, I wanted to show the beauty of human hearts. That the human capacity is really tremendous, right? Our capacity to give and to love is actually there. And even for me, the light has always been there, but I think it was overshadowed by my own ambition to rise in corporate world, or my own ego to be seen as somebody important, perhaps. And then I learned that you actually enjoy this after you give, and you don't attach so much sense of importance.
Yes.
You find a sense of happiness that is difficult to explain. So I hope that long from now that we'll be able to give opportunities to many orphans.
Yes.
Right now some of our orphans have graduated from college.
Yes.
And GPA 3.8, GPA 3.5, they want scholarship. We had one girl who's now an economist. We have one boy who just won a scholarship who is going to be a scientist. We have one boy who's studying to be a scholar, right?
Wow.
So if I can just identify some of those bright kids, intelligent orphans anywhere in the world, and invest in them,
Wow.
right? And make them some of the best human beings. I think that's the legacy I want to leave with Give Light.
Wow, that's wonderful. We hope to see you tonight at the event and that you'll participate in the wonderful activities that Give Light is sponsoring. Thank you, Dian, for taking the time and helping us with the interview and coming to Chicago and enlightening us on the organization that you're involved in. For those individuals and people who will be able to make it tonight, can you give them an address, a website, how they can contact you separately or contact the organization?
Yes. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, the event is completely sold out. So we're not going to be able to accommodate anybody, but there are many ways to help. When you think of giving, this is something that I also want to tell people. Giving is not just about money. You can give your ideas, you can give your time and your talents, and Give Light is 100% volunteer organization. We didn't talk about that. I don't have any paid staff. So this is all driven by individuals who are yearning to do something good. And I know that you are in Illinois, but I have a team here. So if you want to volunteer in terms of what can we do to raise awareness and to mobilize more people, then the website is givelight.org, GIVELIGHT.org. And there's all kinds of information there, and I would be happy to hear from the audience as well in terms of how they can help. My contact information is also on the website.
Dian, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
and
It is
energy.
an honor.
And we'll be flashing the information on our website for you to check out as well.